Welcome to Spotlight on Great American Composers. You are listening to a performance of the opening number from William Schuman's baseball cantata, The Mighty Casey, a baseball opera in 3 scenes, performed by Antoine Barnes and the Frost Symphonic Choir. American composer William Howard Schuman was born in New York City on August 4, 1910, to Samuel and Rachel Schuman. As a child, he studied the violin and a number of other instruments, but in his earlier years, his main focus and passion was baseball, which we see reflected later in his life when he wrote the opera The Mighty Casey. In 1928, Schuman pursued a business degree at New York University. He also worked for an advertising agency during this time. As he continued to collaborate on pop songs, Schuman, along with lyricist Frank Grosser, wrote many songs for radio, vaudeville, and nightclub acts. Initially, Schuman avoided attending classical concerts because he felt that they would be boring. But in 1930, he was convinced by his mother and sister to attend a professional symphony orchestra concert. And, surprisingly, Schuman decided that he would begin composing classical music. Schuman subsequently withdrew from New York University and began to study at the Malkin Conservatory under the instruction of Max Persson, and also later at the Juilliard School under the instruction of Charles Fabiel, Adolf Schmid, and Bernard Wagenaar. In 1935, Schuman earned a B.S. in music education at Teachers College at Columbia University. His goal was to reform and improve music education. During this year, Schuman also began teaching at Sarah Lawrence College in Bronxville, New York, and went on to earn a Master of Arts degree from Columbia University in 1937. During this decade, Schuman experienced the first successful public performances of his music and generated his first prizes and commissions for his orchestral and chamber compositions. In 1944, Schuman began to work as a director of publications at G. Schirmer Incorporated until 1945, when he became the president of the Juilliard School. Here, he made essential and lasting improvements in the school. However, he remained a composer and was awarded the first Pulitzer Prize in the field of musical composition in 1943. In 1962, Schuman became president of the Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts, and the New York Philharmonic Symphony opened its 1962 to 1963 season with Schumann's Symphony No. 8. During his tenure at the Lincoln Center, lasting until 1969, Schuman encouraged commissions and performances of American music and established a chamber music society and a film society. He emphasized services to the urban community and organized a summer series of special events. After he resigned, he served on the boards of distinguished organizations such as the Metropolitan Opera Association and the Composers Forum, and was a member of the Royal Academy of Music in London, England. Schuman died in 1992 following hip surgery. William Schuman was celebrated for his propulsive and energetic music, built upon the foundations of both traditional and modern music. Schuman used themes from American folk music, jazz, and those that reflected his love for poetry. In his youth, he wrote 100 or more pop songs, and later in life, he wrote 10 symphonies, 5 ballet scores, 4 string quartets, more than 40 works for orchestra and opera, most notably the opera The Mighty Casey, 13 compositions for wind and percussion instruments, 13 pieces for chamber music, 4 compositions for piano, and 1 for organ, 32 compositions for chorus and voice, 15 of which were for a cappella chorus, and 9 works for film and stage. An interesting story about the emergence of Schumann Symphony No. 7 contains an ironic twist about the composer's strong opinions concerning which technique should be used in musical composition. Following Schumann's request for the works of German composer Anton Webern, which were to be used for a study project in 1959, Schumann sharply criticized the use of the 12-tone technique for music composition, also known as serial music, for which Webern was well known. Schumann felt that the use of this predetermined technique was limiting and lacked emotional drive for talented composers. But after being persuaded by other composers, one of which was Aaron Copland, Schumann reconsidered his views about the positive impact of using this technique. Schumann had a change of heart and began to compose using this technique. Schumann's Symphony No. 7, or Sinfonia No. 7, employs the 12-tone technique, which was highly unusual for Schumann's compositions. The music was originally composed for the Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra, but this commission collapsed, and the music was repurposed for use by the Boston Symphony Orchestra in 1954. Listen to Symphony No. 7. In 1956, Schumann wrote a collection of 3 pieces for the orchestra at the University of Miami. This collection was based on tunes by the colonial-era New England composer William Billings. The first movement of Schumann's version for band begins as a chorale and then is broken into pieces in an intense development that comprises most of the piece. Chester is the third movement of this collection. Originally, Chester was the unofficial anthem of the American Revolution, whose melody and words stirred the hearts of colonists fighting for their freedom from Great Britain. Listen to Chester.